One day you will wake up, make a cup of coffee, and while still struggling to stay awake, you will see a peculiar news story. Scientists have just announced that for the first time in history, a general artificial intelligence has been created in a lab. You are initially surprised. After all, who doesn't like scientific advancements? This should be good news. You think as you savor the rest of your coffee. But you have no idea what's coming. A ticking time bomb has been planted, and the future of humanity can now follow two paths with very different consequences. Either artificial intelligence will become our greatest ally, or it will be our last invention. Those who follow my work know that I am an optimist about the future of humanity and our relationship with new technologies. But lately, I have become increasingly concerned about a very specific problem with artificial intelligences that I honestly think people don't give the proper attention and seriousness to. I'm talking about the problem of control.
Hey, Pedro here. This video you are watching was originally in Portuguese, my native language. This is the attempt of our team to translate it to English, and I sincerely hope you enjoy it. Your feedback is extremely important to us. Now, back to the video.
There is no shortage of videos and articles on the internet saying the phrase, superintelligent artificial intelligences will be humanity's last invention. But most don't properly explain what they mean by that. So I went to seek information. I tried to learn more about the topic. And the more I studied, the more I realized that this might be one of the most important issues in current science. But more than just warning about a problem, especially since there is no shortage of content that only talks about this, in this video I want to talk about the problem, but also present a possible solution, a path we can follow as humanity to prevent our greatest invention from also being our last. And to do that, I first need to make sure we are all on the same page about the existential risk that artificial intelligences present. Why could they be our last invention? What I need everyone to understand is that the artificial intelligences we have today are nothing compared to what we expect to have in the future. Do you remember the reaction you had when you used ChatGPT for the first time? The internet went into a frenzy for a few days, and that was all anyone talked about. Several newspapers used ChatGPT itself to write articles about this new tool as proof of its capabilities. And indeed, it was revolutionary. It was the first time we developed and trained algorithms capable of processing and communicating using natural language at a level that closely resembles that of humans. But nowadays, is your reaction still the same? Compared to when ChatGPT was launched, do you still think it is capable of running a company, ending jobs, and starting an era of uncertainties and insecurities for humanity? The answer is no. Now that the initial shock of first contact with an impressive technology has passed, we are very aware of the limitations of these tools, which are not limited to just ChatGPT, but apply to all natural language models. Even though they are endowed with unparalleled knowledge about humanity, having read practically all books, all scientific articles, and all internet pages, the truth is that these artificial intelligences do not understand the world. My point is that all the artificial intelligences we have created so far only work in very specific applications. We even have a name for this type of AI, which is narrow artificial intelligence. Just to be very clear, I don't mean that this doesn't imply they are not intelligent. The computer Deep Blue, which defeated chess master Kasparov, is an example of narrow artificial intelligence because it only knows how to play chess. But it beat Kasparov, and it was only able to do that because it is extremely intelligent at chess. But if you ask Deep Blue to compose a song, it will fail miserably. If you ask it to draw what a chess bishop looks like, it won't be able to. This is where we find one of the major differences between human intelligence and today's artificial intelligences. We humans are endowed with general intelligence, while machines are still confined to narrow and specific intelligences. In fact, I'm thinking of making a video just about what intelligence is and why most of us have no idea what a good definition of intelligence is. If you're interested in this video, leave a comment here. This is one of the reasons why generative artificial intelligences draw hands with a different number of fingers than humans have, or with fingers in positions that human hands cannot reproduce. They were trained to create images, and for this, were fed with databases on what a hand should look like. But they don't understand how a hand works. They don't know that a finger shouldn't bend backward. Artificial intelligences don't know that there is an entire skeleton inside your body restricting the movements you can make. And that's why the current major technological race is to achieve the much dreamed of general artificial intelligences. The idea is that they would be able to solve new problems like figuring out how a hand moves without needing to be specifically trained for it. And that seems fantastic. But it only seems so, because it hides one of the worst scenarios for the future of humanity, which is the answer to the question I asked a little while ago about why artificial intelligences might possibly be our last invention. The danger lies in the so-called intelligence explosion, which was pointed out by computer scientist Irving John Good in the 1960s. According to him, one day humans would likely create superintelligent machines capable of surpassing the intelligence of any human. As these machines surpass human intelligence, they would have the ability to enhance their own intelligence, creating increasingly intelligent machines, and worse, they would probably do so. The end result would be an intelligence explosion, where humans would be left behind and become irrelevant in a very short time. And for good himself, the only way to ensure that humanity would survive in this scenario would be by ensuring that humans still had control over the superintelligent artificial intelligences. And this is where the key to our survival in a world with machines that surpass our cognitive capacity by many orders of magnitude comes in. How can we ensure that we will remain in control? Many people have quite naive answers to this problem, like just putting some code in the machine to always obey humans. But if I do a good job, I hope the next few minutes of this video will prove to you how easy it is for this to get out of control. There is a Greek myth about a king named Midas, and according to the myth, King Midas was obsessed with gold. One day he was granted a wish and decided to ask that everything he touched would turn to gold. And indeed, this happened. But King Midas's happiness was very short-lived. He could no longer eat because all the food he touched turned to gold. The water also turned into molten gold. So his life, now surrounded by gold, became a miserable hell. This myth shows how an order that initially seems very positive can quickly get out of control. The modern and artificial intelligence version of the King Midas myth is known as the alignment problem. Machines do not understand subtleties, and if the goal given to them is not well thought out, the consequences can be quite devastating. In a famous example of the alignment problem, an artificial intelligence is commanded to optimize the production of paperclips in the world. Nothing could be more harmless than paperclips, right? In the first few days, the AI starts buying raw materials from the cheapest suppliers and organizes the production line. Productivity increases considerably. Everyone is happy. And in no time, it discovers that the raw material is running out, and the best way to get more is by turning humans into more clips. Oh, but wait a minute. We just had to tell the artificial intelligence not to harm any human in the process. We can try that if you want. But now, with all living beings intact, the AI decides to use all the iron from the oceans, which causes the extinction of phytoplankton, which helps absorb carbon from the atmosphere. In a few years, planet Earth is overtaken by global warming. You can play with as many scenarios as you want, and there's always a way to ruin everything forever. And we don't even need to go so far with such drastic scenarios. If we don't set limits, an autonomous car ordered to reach the airport as quickly as possible would speed up to 200 or 300 kilometers per hour, causing the owner to either get arrested or be involved in a serious accident. What the alignment problem tries to warn us about is how difficult it is to give precise instructions to AI without causing any harm as a side effect. And in a research environment within a laboratory, it would be possible to gradually adjust the way the AI operates, making it increasingly aligned with the objectives we have. The problem is that we already use algorithms and artificial intelligence in applications that have profound impacts on humanity, and an error like those in the examples I mentioned is not easy to fix. Another thing I wanted to briefly discuss is the suggestion by some people that if something goes wrong, we can just turn off the machine. The problem with this argument is that artificial intelligences start to show a kind of self-preservation instinct, even without it being programmed into them. An easy way to visualize this is as follows. Let's suppose I ask my superintelligent artificial intelligence to get a coffee for me. So far, so good. I like coffee. Let's suppose that in the middle of the process, it starts acting in a way I don't want, and then I decide to unplug it. I probably won't be able to, for a simple reason. The AI cannot complete its objective, which is to get coffee, if it is turned off. The main objective, which is to get coffee, generates a secondary objective, which is to stay on. Because if it is turned off, it cannot fulfill its main objective. And this is where the greatest risk of all comes in, combining the intelligence explosion with the alignment problem. If an intelligence explosion happens and we still haven't solved the control problem, we won't have time to find a solution. We will lose control. And from that point on, all of humanity becomes just a passenger, witnessing in complete helplessness the future unfolding before them. Artificial superintelligence would indeed be our last invention. At this point in the video, some of you might already be thinking of solutions. Great. The more people thinking about the problem, the better. But I would like to dismiss a false solution right away, which is to completely halt research in artificial intelligence. First, this solution doesn't work in practice. Achieving that level of oversight for humanity as a whole is impossible. There are various types of weapons that are prohibited from being developed, and that doesn't stop malicious groups from moving forward. Second, we would be depriving ourselves of what could be humanity's pinnacle, creating a superintelligence, as long as it is under our control, means solving the greatest problems we face today as humanity. Advancing science and technological research by years for every hour that passes is a benefit too great to be overlooked. We are talking about creating a completely different world from what we have today, where most work is left to machines, where human needs are guaranteed, and where every living person can enjoy the pinnacle of the human experience. People living in that future would look at humanity today and wonder how we managed to live this way. But for that, we need control. In the book Human Compatible, Artificial Intelligence and the Problem of Control, the author, who is an active researcher in the field of AI, introduces 3 principles that can help us maintain control. The goal is to create super-intelligent machines that will help us solve difficult problems, but without creating situations that make humans unhappy. The first principle states that the sole objective of AI is to maximize the fulfillment of human preferences. And here I need to make a note. The choice of the word preferences instead of values is intentional. Even though value has a different connotation in the field of artificial intelligence, this word could lead some people to question things like, what kind of values should be placed here? Who would choose them? What is a good value? And these are things that are not related to the current discussion. The word preference, on the other hand, means everything you care about or might care about without moral judgments. The first principle is meant to ensure that artificial intelligences serve only human beings, without caring about their own existence or well-being. It may seem a bit harsh, but a machine concerned with its own well-being is a disaster waiting to happen. The second principle is the most important, and it states that AI starts with uncertainties about what human preferences are. If we try to program an AI with what we imagine to be human values, or perhaps with a statistical model of how humans like to be treated, we run the risk that they might think they know what we want. This can create situations where the AI would strictly follow a goal without thinking twice or analyzing its own actions, creating scenarios similar to the alignment problem where a simple goal turns into chaos. And that's where the third and final principle comes in. The source of information for human preferences is human behavior. And in summary, by following these 3 principles, we avoid situations where the goals of artificial intelligences become misaligned with human goals. It's a way to create AIs that operate in symbiosis with humans, constantly relying on our observations and reactions to understand if they are acting in a way that we approve of. And this is somewhat different from the model currently used to create and train better AIs, where given a goal, it needs to optimize to achieve it faster. And I don't want it to seem like this solution is a magic rule that will work and the control problem is solved. Far from it. Science and progress work in a strange way, where we can't necessarily predict when major innovations will emerge. Few people were aware of the work that led to the publication of the paper that created the technological foundation of ChatGPT, which also took most of the population by surprise. The truth is that we are not sure if and when we will create a superintelligent AI, and it is precisely because of this uncertainty that we need to have a good solution to the control problem as soon as possible. Nothing prevents a discovery made tomorrow from creating the first superintelligence, and if that happens, we will not be prepared. We need more research in the area, and we need more people aware of the magnitude of the problem we are dealing with to make informed decisions. The way things are working today, with big companies engaged in a reckless technological race to see who launches the best and most intelligent model, we are dangerously putting the future on the back burner, focusing only on the short term. And to conclude, I also wouldn't want this video to give the impression that I have a negative or pessimistic view of artificial intelligences. Pointing out problems and seeking solutions doesn't make anyone for or against something. In fact, it makes us better. I believe and hope to be alive to live in a future where the control problem is solved and artificial superintelligences serve the interests of humanity. Who knows? Aging might be a solved problem, or we might finally discover what dark matter and energy are. Perhaps science as a whole will be resolved and humans will focus on being human. But what about you? What is your vision of the future of humanity with artificial intelligences? Will we solve the control problem and live in an era of abundance? Let's chat here in the comments. Tell me what you think. Thank you very much, and see you next time.